Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Power Within podcast. My name is Trevor Evers. I'm your host. And in this episode, I have a fantastic guest. His name is Sean Michael Andrews, and he is the world's fastest hypnotist. I had the pleasure of meeting Sean a few weeks ago at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. We had a great chat, and he was kind enough to come on the podcast as my special guest here today. So without any further ado, let's bring Sean on and say hello. Sean, you're very welcome on the podcast. How are you?
I'm fine, Trevor. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. And I'm excited about getting to talk to you here today on the podcast and getting into some very interesting stuff. I know that you are a world internationally renowned speaker and author, and you have a huge amount of experience in the field of hypnotherapy. And may I say that I did see your talk at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, and I was quite blown away by it. I'm very impressed, and I picked up so much, folks, from Sean's talk. I really did. I'm doing hypnotherapy, you may know myself, for 15 years now. But I'm always learning. You're always picking up new things and looking at new strategies, new ways of doing things. And, to see somebody like Sean in action is really inspiring. The old saying is, you can't make me bark like a dog and cluck like a chicken. Well, when it comes to Sean, maybe he might be able to do that. That's right.
Never have. Never done that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, I suppose to kick off, would you like to give it a little bit of a background on how you got into the hypnotherapy field and how you got to be speaking at all these events all over the world?
Mhm.
How it started
Uh,
for you?
well, let's see. I took an NLP class many years ago, and I really liked it. And the part I liked about it the most was the rapport building techniques. NeuroLinguistic programming, for anyone that doesn't know, is now some would call it a pseudoscience, but I found it very, very helpful when you want to work with people with their problems. And there are two aspects of NLP. One is the therapy aspect, and then the other is the rapport building. And of the two, I think the rapport building is more important. And it changed my life. It enabled me to connect with people that in a way that I was never able before I learned NLP rapport building. So
Sure.
so I really dove into NLP, and then I found that it was based in a large part on Ericksonian hypnotherapy. And so I studied Erickson and his methods. And then I discovered the Dave Elman school, the Dave Elman manner of doing hypnotherapy. And that was perfect for me. It was more direct, it was simpler, it was very, very effective. So I was working for the government at the time, and they offered an early out, an early retirement. So I took it and went
Very
full
good.
time hypnotherapy. And some people think that I'm primarily an entertainer, but I do entertain, but I'm primarily a hypnotherapist. I like to help people. I've just opened a new office here in Florida, and I'm back to seeing clients again, and I like that. So that's hypnotherapy, helping change people's lives for the better is really my favorite part about this whole thing.
Sure. Mine too. Mine too. That,
Entertainment's entertainment's fun, but it's not really as fulfilling as doing hypnotherapy.
sure. Sure. I don't know. I don't think we got to talk for too long there at the conference. It was so busy. But I am. I have a practice here in Waterford City in Ireland, it's the southeast of Ireland, for the last 15 years now. And I've been seeing one-to-one clients, helping them to quit smoking and reduce weight, eliminate fears, and
Hmm.
reduce stress and so on. But I also work with the corporate world, a couple of different projects going on there as well, because that's a big thing now in terms of stress reduction to improve productivity and efficiency. But something that really struck me with your talk at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference was that when I started out doing this work, I used to give a lot of public information talks
Hmm.
to, I suppose, clarify all of the misconceptions about hypnotherapy that are out there. And so I spoke in libraries, I spoke at health fairs, I spoke in like you name it. But I always found it a little bit of an uphill battle because you still get the don't look into my eyes and you're going to take control over my mind or you are I'm going to get stuck in hypnosis. That's another one as well. But what I was very impressed, folks, was how Sean was able to banish all of these myths in under 1 minute, if you remember.
Yeah, yeah. My
So kind
my
of cool.
1 minute pre-brief that I use before hypnotizing people for the first time. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. And just keep it simple. And because, it's the Hollywood movies or whatever, like TV, media, like sometimes don't necessarily portray the truth about the work that we do and they spin it in a certain way.
Hmm.
And, that can be like challenging, but I kind of got into a zone where, I used to be kind of, if I was out with friends for a night out, I'd be trying to convince everyone of the merits of hypnotherapy and dispel all of the myths. But after a while, I got fed up doing that. So, um, the way I look at it now, if they're really interested, they'll come and ask me if they really want to know. So, I was very impressed with that. And, something that I really want to do when I've been working with other hypnotists, hypnotherapists here in Ireland and in the UK as well, such as Carl Anthony. Don't know if you met Carl.
Yes, I
And
did meet Carl. Yes.
yeah, yeah, he's brilliant hypnotist. And Dylan Lovegrove as well. I don't know if you met Dylan. They're
Oh,
just
yeah,
two.
yeah, yeah. I met Dylan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dylan, yeah. So they're just two examples of like I like old school hypnotists and I like the confidence that those guys have. And I find that, from my own point of view, like I have confidence kind of in my office here.
Hmm.
And when I'm seeing my clients at a one-to-one
Hmm.
basis. But when it comes to kind of, getting out there and doing street hypnosis, for example, or, you know, um, expressing myself in terms of my hypnotic skills to the outside world, no, I can tend to be a bit shy with that. And I'm great when it comes to my kids,
Hmm.
and in private and stuff. I have their hands stuck to tables sometimes and, having a lot of fun with that.
Hmm.
But your talk really gave me some inspiration, a lot of inspiration actually, and confidence to maybe push myself a bit more to get out there and use these skills and, drop that, even after 15 years, that like holding on to that fear of what if it doesn't work.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I'm I'm actually
Still have
I'm
it.
an introvert as well. I'm actually
Right,
very shy, and talking to strangers is not something that comes natural to me. I am not
right.
an extrovert at all, but
Wow.
I love hypnosis so much that my my excitement, my passion for hypnosis kind of overrides my shyness because as I said in my talk, I mean, if you're a hypnotist, you're probably the coolest person in any room that you're in. It is
Yeah.
such an exciting thing. You can entertain with it. You can change people's lives with it. You can do amazing stuff with it. And so when I tell somebody I'm a hypnotist, or when somebody else says, "Oh, he's a hypnotist," and they seem a little bit interested, I I start and I just say a few things, and if they seem a little bit more interested, then I'm off to the races, and and then I'm more than happy to give them a demonstration. And as I did in the talk, start them off with the finger magnets test. And I mean,
Yeah,
the things that we do are so darn interesting that it's hard not to get excited about it. And then the more you work with strangers like that, the more confident you feel. And if you can hypnotize people at a party or on the street, it's a piece of cake to hypnotize people when they come in for therapy, because they,
sure.
they came in specifically to get hypnotized. But
Yeah.
when you can do it with strangers, it's pretty darn easy to do it anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just a matter of pushing myself out of my comfort zone to do that and getting some practice as well, because
Hmm.
the first couple of times is always the most challenging with anything that we do in life, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, it's funny though. When I do street hypnosis, before I start, I'm not feeling very comfortable at all. I I I don't really like to get started, but then so I've devised some tricks to help me get over my introversion, my shyness, and I'll have a sign that says free hypnosis. We used to have a really nice sign that had free hypnosis on one side, and on the other side, it had the three common myths about hypnosis. People would stop, they'd start reading the sign, and then we would approach
Yeah.
them. And but the funny thing is as nervous as I am every time I start doing hypnosis out in the street, once I've hypnotized the first person, then it's all a blur. It's the next thing I know, it's 2 hours later, and my wife is saying, we really should go to dinner because you've been at
Thanks.
this a long time. And yeah, because
Yeah.
it's so much fun to do this. And once you do that, once you hypnotize the first person, then other people see that, and then they want to play too. And you get on a roll. So yeah, yeah, but it's not something that comes naturally to me either.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice to know that because like the perception from, externally can be like that us hypnotists are really, we're outgoing, we're extroverts, right? We're
Yeah.
we're hypnotists. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, people say it to me as well, like you're doing a podcast, Trevor. Like, that not everyone does a podcast, which is like I am an introvert as well. I'm like a lot very similar to you.
Hmm.
And I'm comfortable in my own company. Sometimes that, you need that space as well.
Hmm.
And, some like weekends like the conference as well, even though it's fantastic, I think, John Scanlon and the organizers like have done an incredible job the way they built it here in Ireland. I'm
Hmm.
sure you'd agree. And at the same time, like the couple of days, I remember before the conference, I was kind of like getting, a few of the heebie-jeebies, as they say, like, a few of the butterflies to go, oh, all these people, like, you're
Hmm.
going to be meeting. And like for an introvert, as you know, like it can take a lot of energy, can really suck your energy.
It can. It really does. At the end of the day, you're pretty exhausted. The good thing about, you just said something that jogged my brain a bit. It's good to be a speaker, because if you're a speaker, often people will approach you, which for an introvert, that's great. I I
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I have difficulty approaching other people, but if someone comes up to me and wants to talk, I'm all in. It's kind of funny. I didn't thought about it, but when I started speaking at conferences, it became a lot easier.
yeah. Yeah, and I said like being at these conferences, like you get to meet so many different like people,
Yeah.
um, some great different variety of hypnotherapists, just extroverts and introverts and
Hmm.
somewhere in between.
Yeah.
I always like, go with the mindset. Like my wife is kind of my manager. She doesn't know really much about hypnotherapy, but she gave me a tip before I went to the event to go look at you're going there, embrace it, like, just embrace it and get out there and, be yourself. And I suppose it's easy, and that's easier as well. Like the older kind of we get, kind of the wiser we get. Like I'm 52 now, and you really don't. You kind of drop that thing of kind of what people think and all that stuff, and just go for it. So. But yeah, I'm definitely somebody that kind of similar in many ways to yourself. At the same time, I think I mentioned to you as well. There was a wedding I was at back in January, folks. My sister-in-law, my wife's sister, Claire, got married to Thomas. A fantastic occasion. And at the wedding with the kids, my children, Emma and Owen, they're 11 and 9. And I was doing a little bit of hypnosis with them and their friends. And it was kind of like they were kind of, will I go a little bit further? And kind of, had I got the, could I be brave enough to do that? And I kind of did. And I kind of says, ah, no, I won't bother. I'll just go, not this time. But after your talk, if the next wedding, says, the way you meet families, either at weddings or
Yeah.
funerals, hopefully, well, hypnosis really even prefer the other one. But the next family occasion, maybe we can have a bit of fun with that. We'll
Oh
see.
yeah. Oh gosh, a wedding would be perfect. People have had a drink or two. That helps too. Definitely increases hypnotizability. Yeah. And people are there to have a good time. Oh yeah. I haven't been to a wedding in a long time, but weddings are perfect for introducing people to hypnosis.
Definitely, definitely. And people are so fascinated by it. And sometimes we forget because, you know, we live in a different world than when we started out doing this. I mean, when I
Mhm.
qualified, I done a course, the National Guild of Hypnotists. You may be aware of that
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm one of their trainers.
body. Yeah, with their trainer here in Cork, Martin Kiley.
Yep. Yep.
If
I know
you know
mine.
Martin.
Yep.
And that was fantastic. But at that time, really, like the 15 years ago, you're starting out and like I opened up practice straight away. And all I
Hmm.
had
Good.
was a website
Hmm.
and leaflets, your brochures. I'll just show you one here.
Right.
Let's have one here. Oh, one of these, your leaflets about what you do.
Yep.
Um, do you know that, stop smoking, whatever, your
Yep.
number, your email, and on the back of it, then eventually you kind of pick up a few testimonials and along the
Yeah.
way. And even something here from, a doctor and a rheumatologist. You get all this great feedback. And I do get referrals
Yeah.
from a few doctors and rheumatologists around the area, which is great. But the world we live in now, my point is that it's all changed in the sense of like, with social media and technology and,
Mhm.
you need to be on all of these platforms, your Facebooks, Instagrams, TikToks and YouTube. And there's a lot of pressure to kind of like, being an introvert to kind of go and
Mhm.
do that like as well, you
Yeah.
know. And you kind of get used to it, you kind of do it because, the old saying, like, you're not in business unless you have a sign in the shop window, that kind of way. But
Yeah.
that can be a challenge. I don't know, kind of get some advice or tips from me on that because, like, when it comes to hypnosis, I love it. I love the work that I'm
Mhm.
doing here in the office. But it's the sales part, it's the marketing part that
Mhm.
really, look, I'm not a salesman, but
Yeah.
yeah, it comes with part and parcel of running a business, right?
Yeah. I would say, well, there are a couple of things that I'm thinking about. One, I'll do the social media first. Um, it's interesting if you want to be known in the hypnosis community. Um, you're absolutely right. You have to be on social media, and you have to continue to be on social media. One of the things that I've discovered about hypnosis over the years is that the turnover in this community is extreme. Um,
Mm.
I know, for example, I know hypnotists who 20 years ago they were famous. They were like the best known hypnotists in their country or possibly in the world. And then they stopped appearing just for a couple of years, and nobody knows who they are. It's crazy. I think the turnover in hypnosis, and this is a number I'm just pulling out of thin air, has got to be about 20% a year. You've got lots of new people coming in and lots of other people just sort of dropping out. And if you're not going to the conventions, if you're not on social media, they forget you. It's very easy to be forgotten when the turnover is so incredible. So that's one thing. If
Yeah.
you need to stay out there. Well, I mean, you're doing the right thing, having the podcast. That's a very good idea. It keeps you out there. It keeps you in front of the audience. The other thing for hypnotherapists that want to establish themselves as a leader or one of the leaders in hypnosis is to specialize. And by that I mean you introduced me as the world's fastest hypnotist, right? It turns out if you
Well,
own that turns out if you own that website, people believe it. So anyway, as I always say, um, people who've taken my classes, when they finish, they are also the world's fastest hypnotist, but they don't own the website. I do. So so uh, so when I started promoting that,
yeah.
that was my tag. I was the fast hypnosis guy. But it you need to specialize. You need to become known for something. Like, could you be there's a hypnotist who is known as the anti-anxiety hypnotist, anti-anxiety guy. There Who's known as the gastric band hypnotist. Well, that's Sheila Granger. People know her in this industry. Everybody
Sure.
knows Sheila. There are, if you're known to who's now, but there are many things you could specialize in. How about IBS? How about treating migraines? How about helping people with, oh, for a time, I was the fear of bridges guy. And a reporter wrote a very, very flattering article about me uh, 18 years ago, and I appeared in the newspaper. It was the front of the style section, and as it turned out, the day that newspaper was published, um, a very famous baseball player from my hometown was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So they printed an extra 100,000 copies of this newspaper that I was in.
Nice.
So he was the front page of the
Lovely.
paper, and I was the front page of the style section. And I made so much money from people who were afraid of crossing high bridges. They hung my picture on their refrigerator, and then eventually they got around to calling me and setting up an appointment. But that was what I was known for, as the fear of bridges guy. So pick something and become known for that. Specialize in that particular issue, and that can really raise your profile in hypnotherapy. Now, that's not to say that you won't have a general practice. That's what I have, a general practice. I do a lot of weight loss. I do a lot of smoking cessation, and I do other things. But I'm known as the guy that does fast hypnosis, and so that's why I'm in the public eye. So pick something and really become known for that. But you can still maintain a general practice because most of the business is in weight loss and smoking. But but
Yeah,
Find that tag.
definitely, definitely. I think the media are attracted though and pulled towards the entertainment element of it because it's that mystery, isn't it? It's that magic and that
They
story that the want.
yeah, well, they are, and as the with the techniques that I showed in my talk in Dublin, um, if it very easy to do. You saw it's super easy to do, and you really can't fail. And so it's good to know those techniques too, for just to entertain your friends and that sort of thing, or to spice up your talks to groups. And obviously, that giving talks to groups is really the best way to promote your practice. And of course, if you know the quick techniques that I showed in Dublin, then you can really wow the crowd.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think specialization is the way to go if you want to uh, raise your profile in hypnotherapy, but then also with the general public.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes it takes a while to kind of find that niche, doesn't it? That what fits you, because it needs to be something that is right for you. What might be right for someone else, it wouldn't fit your kind of personality and your.
Oh yeah, oh sure. I mean, when I became the
Mm,
bridge guy, the reason for that was I was terrified of crossing bridges. I had a
like,
phobia,
yeah,
and I beat it using NLP. And I thought, well, there are a lot of people there are a lot of people that have to go over these bridges, and so if I can do for them what I did for myself, that that'd be pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it requires as well us to push ourselves a little bit sometimes outside of our comfort zone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To
Oh
get
yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
there.
Yeah, I mean, as an introvert, getting up in front of crowds. I mean, I used to have to do briefings when I was working for the government. So but I was always a little nervous. And I'll tell you what, I'm still always a little nervous. Before I got up there in Dublin, um, yeah, I'm always a little nervous. It's okay. I think I perform better when I've still got a little bit of nerves. But yeah, I'm not perfectly calm. That's all an act.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, we're human, aren't we? We're not robots,
Yeah,
so it's okay to be feel a few butterflies, and still get
yeah,
them as well. That's one thing that I've learned over the years is to be, kind to myself and to be
yeah.
focused. That, if I'm feeling a little bit, sometimes a few butterflies, even before, a client
Sure.
comes in, that's okay to sit with that and take a few breaths and, to get into the zone.
Yeah. Oh,
Because,
Trevor, you just
yeah,
reminded me of something.
go ahead.
Probably 20 years ago, I was in a class with Gerald Kine, and you probably
Brilliant hypnotist. I've heard
know
of
about Jerry Kine. And
NGH.
yeah, so he said something that hit me. He said, when you have somebody that you're going to do hypnosis with, whether it's somebody in your clinic or whether it's somebody on the street, and they say, well, I'm a little nervous, he said, tell them, don't think you're nervous, think you're excited. And I thought, yeah, that
Yeah,
kind of works. But interestingly, there was a study done about 6 years ago, I believe, where and it was at a university, and uh, they had two groups. They had one group of kids that were nervous about giving presentations, and they told them, feel calm, feel relaxed, feel stress free, feel just calm, calm, calm. Right? That didn't work. And then the other group, they told them, feel excited, and that worked beautifully, and they performed so much better. And the reason why is because being scared and being calm are really, really far apart. But being scared and being excited are very close together. And
that's
so
right.
if you can perceive those butterflies you're feeling as excitement, I'm not scared to death to get up and talk in front of these people. I'm excited. If you can perceive it that way, you can overcome the butterflies and put on a really good performance. So that's yeah, that's something that I tell people if they tell me they're afraid to be hypnotized, and seems to work very well.
I love that reframe, right? From
Yes,
the words as
it's
well.
an excellent
Yeah,
reframe. It works
yeah,
for me and it works for them.
yeah. Another reframe that I love is a reframe of the word problem to challenge. And I
Yeah,
use that a lot as well with my clients
yeah,
because, who wants problems, right? We don't want we don't want any problems. But challenges are kind of the different thing because there's a motivational, there's a seed of motivation in that word.
yeah.
I think
Perfect.
it works really well as a
Yeah,
reframe.
yeah. I
As,
like that.
and so, folks, that's the gift that us hypnotists have. We're able to kind of change the wordage to get the best out of ourselves, not only our
Yeah,
clients, but ourselves. Because at the end of the day, folks, from my point of view, and I know Sean's going to hopefully agree here that, if we're not in a good space ourselves, that we need to be to help our clients, then, like, if we can't help ourselves, how are we supposed to help other people, right? So,
yeah,
it does start at home. It does start within yourself, doesn't it?
yeah. That's true. That's true. But I mean, we don't have to be perfect. No
Don't
one
have to be
is.
perfect either. No, don't have to be
Yeah.
perfect. Don't have to be perfect. But it is nice, when we can kind of walk the talk and talk the talk with, the work that we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I, yeah, it does. I mean, it's better if your specific problems aren't really visible, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. And what other passions do you have? I mean, like in the world of hypnotherapy, like is it seeing the results from your clients more so
Yeah.
than suppose, as you said, getting up on the stage and doing the entertainment part is kind of a different thing.
Well, that's what I like about hypnosis because there are so many different paths you can take, and you don't have to commit to any of them. I love doing hypnotherapy. I've had many jobs in my life, and they were good, except for maybe one, and and uh, and I enjoyed myself and I felt fulfilled. But this is the only job I ever had where people looked me in the eye and said, "You changed my life." I mean, that's pretty crazy. You can actually change people's lives for the better, and I think there's no greater calling than helping fellow human beings uh, live a happy life. There's nothing better than that. And but so the therapy, you can dive into the therapy, but then you can entertain. And sometimes I'm more interested in the therapy, and sometimes I'm more interested in entertaining, and sometimes I'm more interested in teaching, and I can bounce around to the other areas. And so there are many different aspects of hypnosis that are really fun to do. And so that's one of the great things about this. You can entertain your friends, you can change people's lives, you can teach other people to do what we do and so that they can change people's lives. I love it.
Yeah, brilliant. And in terms of this is a very hypnotic question. It's a question that definitely would be of interest to us hypnotherapists. But in terms of the work that you do, the specifics of the work that you do, like would you use indirect suggestion, direct suggestion, regression, content free, or is it like, a mixture of everything?
It's a mixture of everything.
Mm.
I do age regression. Dave Elman called age regression the crown jewel of hypnosis.
The
And
green book, I still have it.
yeah, the green
Yeah.
book, yeah, hypnotherapy,
Yeah.
which was originally titled Findings in Hypnosis. That
Yeah.
was the original title of it. And that was written, I think, in 1963, 63, 64, something like that, after he had suffered his heart attack. And his students wrote to him and begged him um, to get this stuff down on paper just in case something happens to him. And so, yeah, so but he called it the crown jewel of hypnosis, but it's not the only jewel. I used to do age regressions for every problem, no matter what it was. I would take them back to an earlier time when maybe the seed of this issue occurred. And
Sure.
then after a while, I started see right now my feeling on it on regression is um, I look on regression as a physician would look on surgery. If you have an issue, your doctor will probably get you to change your lifestyle or maybe uh, prescribe some kind of medication or something. And then if those
Yeah,
things are not working, then they look at opening you up.
indeed.
And that's the way I look on regression. So when I'm working with a challenge that somebody has, I start with direct suggestion. And if we're making good progress with that, there's no need to do the age regression. But if the direct suggestion is and or you can do content-free NLP stuff, and I mix it all together. But I always try the less invasive therapy before I try the operation, which is the age regression. And I think that works better for the client because age regressions can be pretty dramatic, and
Yeah, sure, sure. And you need to,
sometimes they're necessary.
yeah,
Hmm?
you
Sorry.
need to make sure that, sorry for cutting across you there, but you need to make sure that they're in a safe space, and you need to do it right in an ethical way as well, don't you, when it comes to the regression.
Sure.
But just on the Elman book, just
Hmm.
like I actually have a load of hypnotherapy books here, folks. I don't know if you can see them, just a row of books
No,
there. And
they're down below the camera.
the most of them are, I'll just show you. These school um books.
Oh yeah.
You might know this one here.
Oh yes, yes. Orman McGill. Yeah.
Then, Gilboyne, you remember him?
Yep. Transforming therapy. Yep.
Gilboyne worked with Sylvester Stallone, actually, and helped Sylvester Stallone write the script for Rocky. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
he never told me that.
yeah, yeah. That's an article that I have shared recently. And there's a picture of Sylvester Stallone and Gilboyne together. And Sylvester Stallone put the inspiration for the Rocky script to the creativity to do that
I
to
would love to see Trevor.
Gilboyne.
I would love to see that picture of Gilboyne and Sylvester Stallone because I think Gilboyne was a very tall man. He was about 6'3", and Sylvester Stallone was only about 5'6". So I would like to see the picture of the
Yeah,
two of
yeah,
them
I will
together.
actually. I'll stick it up here, folks, on the podcast. When I go
Yeah,
to edit it, you will see it
if
there
they're
now.
pretty even, then Stallone was standing on a box.
Right, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. And I really appreciate those books because like Orman McGill and Gilboyne and Elman and Moore, they had a charisma, didn't it? They really had a charisma and a magic.
Oh yeah, oh
That
yeah,
when I got into hypnotherapy first, is that magic that I love, that gives me the passion to do the work, because sometimes it can get very scientific and technical, like especially when it comes to, as I said, we've talked about the modern technology and the world we live in, and
hmm
your AI as well, and ChatGPT and all of that is out there. But back in the world that they lived in, these things weren't around. Like, they had
yeah.
to they had to think for themselves and use their own personalities and charisma. Sean, just looking at the time is been flying by, and it's been great having this discussion here today with you, and getting into the different elements and parts of the work we do and the various ways that we can help people, folks, because with hypnotherapy, like there's really nothing that it can't help with, whether it be like we've gone through a lot of things already, but even things like pain management, things like that. Look, you name it. There's very little that it cannot be used for, right? Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Anywhere where there's a mind-body connection.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, have you any plans coming back to Ireland here?
I probably will come back next year
All
for
right, great,
the Irish Hypnotherapy
brilliant.
Conference, and
You met a lot of
and
new friends, I'd say, this time around.
they it was so much fun. I love the Irish people. My family came from there, so it was really good to I don't know. Irish people were just very cool, very friendly, and so yeah, I'll probably come back next year.
But so look at, I'll leave you go, Sean, and thanks very much again, and keep up the great work. Best of
Thank
luck
you,
for all
Trevor.
the speaking engagements, and thanks again. And so look,
Thank you for having me.
you're welcome, and keep in touch.
Yeah, I will do. Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Take care, Sean. Okay, folks, it's that time again to say goodbye. So we leave you go for now. And until the next episode of the Power Within podcast, be good to yourselves. I hope you're enjoying season three. Really enjoying the conversations I'm having with my guests. And yeah, really enjoying it and I'm loving doing it, really enjoying it. So for now, we leave you go and we see you on the next episode of the podcast. Take care, folks.